garden as much as he could by himself, pretty much. Last week we pulled out one of the fences, but we didn't have time or energy to pull out the big long one. So this week he pulled it all out of the ground. We just rolled it up and we're going to just move it out of the way. Those are hard to move very often. So what he's pulling up now are the weeds that grew between the rows of plastic. We had a couple of garden rows that were just openings in the plastic, but while we were pulling up this today, we're like, what in the world would we have done if we had to weed this whole area? So we're very grateful for the black plastic. You can see in the back behind Kevin that he rolled up the other rows of black plastic so that we can reuse them and we can put them in about the same spot, and that arrangement seems to work for us rather than starting from scratch. And we left the perimeter walkway plastic down. We decided that maybe it would be easiest to roll up this big tall fence into 2 rolls, and hopefully we can, between the 2 of us, pick it up and just set it to the side so he can till in here today. That's the plan. Got some organic tomato and vegetable food fertilizer, and spreading it over this area also so that we can add some nutrition to this garden area. Hard to know how far it will go when you look at those little bags in Walmart. We've also unloaded some rabbit manure in here. And then tomorrow we'll add some more, and that'll give us a little bit better coverage than what we were able to do today. This is the brand of organic feeding for all vegetables that was available this time of year at Walmart. There's not too much out there. A lot of people are gardening this year, more than usual, and it's the end of the season.
What we're doing in this row right here, this is going to be one of our planting rows, and going through and smoothing the dirt like this, trying to get it as smooth as possible, and then we'll pull the ground cover back over. It'll match up to this one right here, and this right here, you can see where I've dug through it already to try to smooth it out a little bit. And this end right here I've not done yet, so you can see where we've been walking in there. And we want to try to get this as smooth as possible so that we don't have all those lumps and stuff underneath what we're planting when we get ready to plant stuff. This side over here we've already done. We have a walkway right here where Carol's at now, and this little trench you see here is where we're putting the okra, and that's what Carol's doing right now. And there she is in her cute new rain slicker, as she calls it. She likes her new raincoat. Comes in quite handy. Anyway, so what we've done is we've dug a little trench down the middle of this to keep the water from running off. And this is the end. And then we'll go ahead and put the seeds in here like she's doing now, the okra seeds.
We soaked these for several hours to soften them because okra seeds are so hard shelled, and this seems to help them to germinate faster, so that's why they're in water.
What Carol's doing right here is she's getting ready to put these tomatoes in the ground. These first 2, the one she has in her hand and the other one, are actually cuttings off of our last crop of tomatoes, and we took cuttings off of them and put them in pots, and they rooted. So what we're doing is we're putting them in a deep hole, like she's doing there, because tomatoes will grow roots all the way up the stem if they have an opportunity with dirt around them. So even though this is a big long tomato, it's going to look like a small one now, but it's got a lot of roots down inside. And then she's dumping some rabbit manure around it, and that makes good compost for them.
Fertilizer.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, fertilizer. This out here has been open for several days. We pulled this ground cover back in the whole garden, exposing the whole ground, in hopes that we would get rain, and we did. We got a lot of rain. In fact, it's been raining today off and on. And so we let it get real wet down inside so that we've got a lot of moisture down inside the ground, so that when we do put stuff in here, it won't be just wet on the top. It will also be wet deep down in the ground where the roots can get to it.
Usually we would water in the roots in the hole, but I don't think I need to this time. This is wet down a foot deep.
Yeah, it is. That's pretty. You can see that's pretty wet. We don't have real good soil here in Florida. It's basically sand, and so we have to really enrich our soil when we plant stuff to get it to grow. And that's the reason we put rabbit manure, chicken manure in whatever we plant. It gets a lot of that, and it works out real well usually. So this is the second one of the cuttings that we did. You can see how long that is, but almost all of that will go in the ground. Just like that. And what we do is we put manure down in the hole. We put the plant in, and then we usually put more manure on the top around it also, just to make sure that it's got a lot of nutrition in there. And that's the first two that we're going to do.
Usually we don't, I don't know, tomatoes we grow our own from seedlings. But this year we had to buy some heirloom tomatoes from the big box store because ours just did not grow during the summer to get a season started.
See, we've got the holes already cut in the ground cover, so we just pull that in place and stick the plant through the hole, and we'll come back later and put some staples along that edge there to keep that in place. And these two little tomato plants you see right here, those are the two that we just bought. Carol was just talking about we had to buy some from the store to get this process started because ours just didn't want to grow.
They're about 2 inches tall, and they've been working on that for a while.
Yeah, I think I planted those in July or something, and
just didn't take hold. I think it was just too hot.
Yeah, it's just too hot. That's the other thing here in Florida we have to contend with, is the heat and how to get around that and get stuff to grow. So anyway, so that's what we're doing with the tomatoes. We wanted to show you the progress that we've got out here in the West Garden, as we call it. This is the okra that we planted. We think it's been probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago. We can't remember exactly what the date was. But these guys are getting pretty big. They're getting real tall. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but they're starting to get these little pieces of okra starting right here in the top. There's one there and a couple right here. And here's another one over here. That one's probably going to turn into a blossom and open up. I've got another one over here behind me that's already a blossom, and we can show you that in a second if we go this direction. This is one of the blossoms that we were just talking about, and it's just now starting to open up, as you can see. Will eventually open all the way up, and it'll be a nice big yellow flower. They're real pretty when they open. But that will turn into an okra also. And then several of these others, you can see, if you look down in the tops of them, you can see all these little pointy things sticking up in here. They're all over. Anyway, so these are doing quite well. We dug a little trench in this row when we planted these and put them in there, and it seems to have helped to keep the water in there. You probably remember in a couple of our other videos we've mentioned how dry and sandy our soil is here, and so we have to do everything we can to keep the water where we want it to be. So we're hoping that we're going to get a lot of good stuff out of this row of okra this year.
Yeah. We planted these tomatoes, some of them, on that same day that we planted the okra earlier in this video. And so here we are. We already have some fruit on some of these. These are the first two that we planted out of cuttings. And then we planted one that was a mystery plant that we found in our garden. It was growing in a pot. And that one already has a fruit on it. Let's see if I can get into the fruit. And so that's very exciting for us. We think that might be one of the mini jet stars that we ended up with last year. You can see blossoms all over these. So we are going to have lots of tomatoes from those. Then we bought some other plants from different big box stores. I am a fond lover of cherry tomatoes, so looks like these are probably cherries. Don't see the stick, the identifying stick, but look at all those blossoms. I will be popping those in my mouth. For a change this year, we bought from, I think, Rural King, a pepper plant. I'm not real fond of peppers, but I do like red peppers. And can you believe this plant is less than a foot tall, and it has these large peppers already growing on it. There's one. There's a larger one, bigger than we've ever grown before, and there are some more that are coming along. Also, we bought, just on a lark, an eggplant plant, and this is blossoming. You see that blossom, and more blossoms up here. Here's some more blossoms up here, so we're going to be seeing some eggplants. Not our favorite or most common plant, but hey, it's working. And so if we take a look at the garden from this side, you see that we put up the fence for our green beans. These are Kentucky Wonder, I believe, and they are doing wonderfully. They have blossoms all over them, and a couple of those blossoms have dropped, and I can see that they are turning into beans, and it makes me so excited. And we're just hoping that we get lots of beans off of this so that we can, ooh, there's a good close-up of that blossom. And yeah, these things are just going great guns. We have some damage from what we call leaf rollers, where they bite into the leaf. Oh, and Kevin has picked off some of the villains, and we will feed those to our chickens. But they damaged the leaves. They are evident because you can see where they folded the leaves over. And we come through and smash those, but now he's finding the real culprits, and the bigger ones, and getting rid of those too. So we are excited about this. When we did the beginning video, we didn't have this row even put down yet. And then these are our covered beds. We put cucumber seeds in this one. And Kevin will take these off and let you see. They are just busting out. Maybe you can tell just from looking at this end how they're just pushing out from the edges of the fabric. The fabric keeps them from getting bugs. Look at the blossoms on this crazy plant. It is just going crazy. Looks like a fall scene or something, but we do have a lot of little baby cucumbers starting in here. Look at, I guess it's my fault. I did not have good faith, and I planted a lot of seeds thinking, oh well, if some of them come up, we'll be in good shape. But there are just way too many seeds in here, I suppose, but they're very healthy plants. I don't see any sign of disease on them at all. We haven't seen any signs of vine borer beetles or worms or anything like that so far. So keeping them covered has been helpful to us. Hopefully they will also be able to somehow get pollinated, and we will have a lot of good fruit real soon. Alright, these are our new zucchini plants, squash plants, and they are doing very well. In the past we just haven't had successful squash, but these seem to be doing well. I am seeing a little bit of mildew, which is likely because of them being covered and they don't get air. So we're in a catch-22. We want them to be covered so the bugs don't get them, but the other blight that they are tended to get is to get the mildew, the powdery mildew, and so when we cover them, then they don't get the air. Also, they don't often get as well pollinated. So if you look down here at the yellow squash, gobs and gobs and gobs of male blossoms, but I think they're just hoping that the plant will pollinate itself. So maybe we will leave them open today and try to get some air to them. We've tried to remove a lot of these leaves so that they get more air circulation. So anyway, but the good news is I am standing on the fence line from our garden. This was a 25 by 40 foot garden. We've got these really healthy looking rows of squash and zucchini. Then beyond that is the cucumbers that we just showed you, but we're looking at it from the other side now. We have beets planted down here. They are doing well. Then our big green beans, our healthy tomatoes and pepper and eggplant, and then our row of okra. So this is really doing well. It is the 24th of October in 2020, and so this is doing well. But I'm giving you a hint. We expanded this. We doubled this garden, so be on the lookout for the video of what we did with doubling the garden size. And this is going to give us the capability of doing so much more food planting and harvesting. Thank you for joining us with this video, watching the whole process, almost the whole process up to harvest for our vegetable garden. We call it our West Garden. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments or hints, we sure would like to hear from you. So until next time, thank you for joining us on Hideaway Homestead.